What if being the smartest person in the room was actually one of the loneliest experiences on Earth? We've been told our entire lives that intelligence is the ultimate superpower. Get a high IQ and you get success, happiness, admiration, right? But here's what nobody tells you. The psychology of people with extremely high IQs is far more complex, far more painful, and far more fascinating than any genius stereotype you've ever seen in a movie. Today, we're going inside the mind of the exceptionally gifted, and what we find might completely change the way you think about intelligence. First, let's define what we're talking about. The average IQ is 100. Most people, about 68% of the population, fall between 85 and 115. Now, an IQ above 130 puts you in the top 2% of the world. That's already rare. But we're talking about people above 145, 160, even 180. We're talking about the top 0.1%, or even rarer. These are individuals who process information at a speed and depth that most people simply cannot follow. And that gap between how they think and how everyone else thinks is where the real psychological story begins. Psychologist Kazimir Dabrowski introduced a concept called overexcitabilities, and it's one of the most important ideas for understanding the gifted mind. People with extremely high IQs don't just think more intensely, they feel more intensely. They experience the world through 5 amplified channels: psychomotor, boundless physical energy; restlessness, rapid speech; sensory, heightened sensitivity to sounds, textures; intellectual, an obsessive hunger for knowledge that never turns off; imaginational, vivid fantasy lives, rich inner worlds, creative intensity; emotional, deep empathy, extreme emotional reactions, strong moral sensitivity. This isn't just giftedness, it's like having all your senses and emotions turned up to maximum volume all the time. It's exhilarating and it's exhausting. Here's something that surprises most people. Extremely high IQ individuals are often profoundly lonely, not because they don't want connection, but because genuine connection is incredibly hard to find. When you can process an argument in seconds that takes others minutes, when your humor operates on references most people miss, when your passions are hyper-specific and your depth of interest goes far beyond what most people want to engage with, finding someone who gets you becomes rare. Researchers call this the burden of the gifted. Studies show that highly gifted individuals report lower life satisfaction in social areas, more difficulty fitting into conventional social environments, and a chronic feeling of being fundamentally different, even among intelligent peers. Many describe their social experience like being from a different planet. Not better, just different. And that difference can feel like isolation. You'd think that a mind capable of solving complex problems would always find something interesting to do, but the reality is the opposite. Extremely high IQ individuals are prone to intense boredom in conventional environments. School, routine jobs, small talk, these feel not just uninteresting, but physically uncomfortable. Their brains are wired for stimulation, and when it doesn't come, anxiety often fills the void. Research has linked very high IQ to higher rates of anxiety disorders, ADHD, and even mood disorders. A landmark 2018 study by psychologist Plucker and colleagues found that people with IQs above 130 were significantly more likely to report psychological and physiological conditions, including depression, anxiety, and immune disorders. This has led some researchers to call this the hyper-brain, hyper-body hypothesis, the idea that a hyper-reactive nervous system that drives intellectual brilliance also makes a person more vulnerable to mental and physical dysregulation. Brilliance and suffering, it turns out, may share the same root. You'd expect someone with a genius-level IQ to walk around with supreme confidence, but many high IQ individuals are crippled by imposter syndrome, the persistent feeling that they're frauds. Why? Because the smarter you are, the more vividly you can see the limits of your own knowledge. You understand the vastness of what you don't know. You can anticipate where your thinking might fail. Lesser minds, ironically, are often more confident, not because they know more, but because they're less aware of how much they don't know. This is known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, and high IQ individuals experience the painful inverse of it. They know enough to know how much they don't know, and that awareness can be paralyzing. Related to imposter syndrome is a trait almost universally found in highly gifted individuals: extreme perfectionism. From childhood, many high IQ people were praised for being smart, not for working hard. So when things become difficult, when they hit a genuine intellectual wall, it can be devastating. Failure stops feeling like a step in learning. It feels like a threat to their entire identity. This is why many profoundly gifted individuals underachieve. They avoid challenges where failure is possible. They start brilliant projects and abandon them. They hold back their ideas because the gap between their vision and execution feels unbearable. Psychologist Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset versus fixed mindset is particularly relevant here. High IQ individuals are often trapped in a fixed mindset, believing intelligence is a fixed trait to protect, not a skill to develop. Now let's talk about the gifts, because there are extraordinary ones. People with very high IQs have an exceptional ability to see patterns in data, in human behavior, in art, in systems that others simply cannot perceive. This is what produces the leaps in science, philosophy, music, and technology that reshape civilization. They also tend to have remarkable associative thinking, the ability to connect ideas from completely different domains. This cross-domain synthesis is the engine of original creativity. It's why so many of history's greatest innovators were polymaths, people who were brilliant across multiple fields simultaneously. Einstein played violin, Da Vinci designed flying machines and painted the Mona Lisa. Elon Musk applies physics intuition to business strategy. The gifted mind doesn't just go deeper, it goes wider, making connections that others miss entirely. So what does all this psychological complexity mean for how extremely high IQ individuals can thrive? Research points to a few key things. First, intellectual community. Finding even one or two people who think at a similar depth can be transformative. Many gifted adults describe this as life-changing. Second, meaningful challenge. The gifted mind needs problems worth solving. Routine and mediocrity are toxic to it. Work that demands full cognitive engagement is not a luxury, it's a psychological necessity. Third, emotional intelligence alongside intellectual development. IQ without EQ creates brilliant people who can't connect or collaborate. The most fulfilled high IQ individuals invest as seriously in emotional growth as intellectual growth. And fourth, permission to be different. Many gifted people spend decades trying to shrink themselves, to seem more normal, to suppress their intensity. The psychological turning point often comes when they stop apologizing for how their minds work. The mind of an extremely high IQ individual is not a simple supercomputer running faster than everyone else. It's a hypersensitive, deeply emotional, sometimes tortured, often magnificent instrument that experiences reality in a fundamentally different way. Understanding this doesn't just help gifted people understand themselves. It helps all of us understand that intelligence, real intelligence, is not a clean advantage. It's a complex, double-edged inheritance. And perhaps the most intelligent thing any of us can do is approach every mind, including our own, with a little more curiosity and a lot more compassion. If this video made you think, share it with someone who might see themselves in it. And I'll see you in the next one.